questions for Rabbi Goldstein, please put them in the chat or indicate that you have a question in the chat. Since there are so many of us on the call, you may want to switch to speaker view to see her better. I would like to thank Julie Yawitz, Vice Chair of Engagement and the Women's Philanthropy Outreach Committee, for their ideas and leadership putting together this exciting series of speakers. The purpose of Women's Philanthropy is to connect as a community with each other as Jewish women, as well as with the many important agencies and programs that the Jewish Federation of St. Louis supports. Through our engagement, educational, and community service efforts, along with a campaign, Women's Philanthropy truly inspires social good. Today's topic of mindfulness made me think of the importance of taking care of both of ourselves and each other. One of Federation's core commitments is securing the well-being and safety of individuals within the Jewish community. This includes continuing to work with our community partners like Covenant Place, Crown Center, JFS, and our community rabbis to ensure that the material and spiritual need of those within our community are met. You can learn more about these efforts and others by visiting the Jewish Federation website at jfedstl.org. Now more than ever, Federation is here for good. Now about our speaker. Rabbi Andrea Goldstein received her undergraduate degree in Communication Studies from Northwestern University in 1992 and was ordained from the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1998. She has served as part of the clergy team of Congregation Sheremeth for the past 22 years. For the past 12 years, she has been weaving mindfulness practices such as meditation, tikkun midot study, and yoga into her personal and professional life. She is a graduate of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality's Rabbinic Leadership Program and the Jewish Mindfulness Meditation Teachers Training Program. Rabbi Goldstein finds that these practices bring Judaism alive for her and her community in new and meaningful ways. She is proud to be the founder and director of the Jewish Mindfulness Center of St. Louis, which officially opened in the spring of 2018 and offers classes, workshops, and holiday celebrations to all. Rabbi Goldstein is married to Brett Goldstein and is the mother of Macy, Eli, and Lila. And Rabbi, I will hand it over to you now.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the invitation to be here. We have a very short time and it's a very big topic, so I'm like squishing a lot in. So if you do have questions that come up, you can either jot them down where you are or put them in the chat, and at the end I'm happy to address them the best I can. So mindfulness in its most basic definition is choosing to be aware of what is going on, bringing an awareness to what is going on around us and within us, moment to moment is the key part, without judgment. So this is a very easy sentence for me to say, and it is a very, very difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing for everybody to do, mostly because we're human and we have a human brain that makes this kind of sort of moment-to-moment awareness very, very challenging. As I said, there's a lot that I could focus on, but for this shortened experience, I'm gonna choose. I made a choice about what to highlight. So part of the reason why it is so difficult to practice mindfulness is that for the most part, we were not taught the value of simply observing what is happening around us or within us. We were not taught that there was any value to that. Instead, most of us were taught that we should notice what is going on and then we should respond to it, meaning that we can try to control it or fix it or manipulate it or change it or improve upon it in some way. And the it can be many, many different things. So the it can actually be a very pleasant experience. Okay, so like I love chocolate, right? So like eating a delicious piece of chocolate cake. That should be a beautifully lovely experience that I should just experience because I love that. And you know, there are moments that I do, but you know, a piece of cake is sort of not a one bite thing, like, you know, a few bites. And many of those bites, I'm also probably thinking, should I be eating this whole piece of cake? Did I cut the cake too big? You know, or on the flip side, like, like we're all sitting around eating this delicious cake, and I notice there's like one piece left. Like, should I eat my cake really fast? So, you know, like I'm the first one done, so I might like be the first to get the other piece of cake, right? So doing all of these things means I'm no longer actually simply experiencing the joy of eating the delicious piece of chocolate cake. I am doing that, but not fully, because I'm also doing these other things as well. This also happens with what we might call undesirable experiences, right? So when an experience is happening and it is not what we want to be happening, our instinct and the way we've been taught is that we should do something to fix it or to change it. And I want to stress that in general, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You think about the world, right? We read about, experience, notice injustices all around us. Of course, we should feel an impulse to want to change those, to make the world a better place, to do what we can, to participate in tikkun olam, the act of repairing the world. That's a really good impulse, and it should be acted on. So I'm not in any way saying that mindfulness is just sort of sitting there like watching the world as it goes by, like, oh, and having no response to it. Mindfulness is the acknowledgement that is probably healthier and wiser if we can train ourselves to, when things are happening around us or within us, if we can just pause, if only for the length of time that it takes to take a breath. Just pause for a moment and sit with what is. Oftentimes, just the act of doing that creates some spaciousness within our minds and our hearts that if it is an unpleasant experience, somehow just that pause makes it a little less, and if it's a pleasant experience, that pause just allows us to enjoy it sort of all the more. But because we were mostly taught not to do this, instead we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy, working on, right, like, right. We're either trying to change the situation. If you live with other people, you are sometimes trying to change the other people. And experience tells you that that is like a futile effort, but you're doing it anyway, right? Because they're clearly wrong. Like, they clearly do not know how to do this. This like goes, by the way, this is like everything from like how, you know, my child loads the dishwasher to like, you know, what are you doing with your life? But right, so, okay, so you're spending all this mental time, if not doing other things, by the way, too. And it also applies to ourselves, right? I should be, I could be, why aren't I? Why is she? Why not me? No. Okay, so again, mindfulness, we're just trying to like take all of that spiraling away and coming back here just for the moment. And so we always talk about practice in mindfulness. It's mindfulness practice because we're retraining our brain to connect with the world in a slightly different way in which we were taught. There are many things that we can talk about right now because of this moment in history. We have all been thrust right into this prolonged living experience that none of us have asked for, planned for, prepared for, sort of know really how to navigate. We have probably individually faced multiple disappointments, having to readjust expectations. We are experiencing individually and collectively immense immense uncertainty, which can lead to feelings of anxiety, anger, worry, fear. If we're prone to any of those natural states, this experience has heightened it. If we weren't prone to any of those states, all of a sudden we're like feeling them when we maybe had not been feeling them before. And so what do we do? So I'm a big proponent of saying that there is no emotion or feeling that we can have that is bad. What is true is that there are emotions and feelings that for each of us, and it's probably slightly different for each of us, that we are more or less comfortable with, that feel to us more or less pleasant, right? And so for some people, sadness is a very unpleasant emotion. And we will do pretty much anything, consciously or subconsciously, to push away that feeling if we feel it creeping up. For other people, it's anger. Other people love anger. For some people, anger is a very pleasant emotion, actually, right? So it's a little different for all of us. For the most part, fear tends to fall on the more unpleasant side. We don't tend to like to sit in fear or worry, even though that's where we find ourselves. So instead of me talking, what I thought I would say, well, I'm still going to talk, but I thought I would talk us through a particular practice that we might engage in that might help, not necessarily to take away those feelings, but to learn to sit with them a bit, and in the sitting, transform them a little bit, possibly. So I should have said this at the beginning. So I'm hoping that each of you are in a space where you have at least some, there might be some expectation that there might be some quiet around you for the next little bit of time. It does not have to be silence. It does not have to be whatever. But if it is, that would be good. If, you want to like text someone on the other end of the house, like, don't come in right now, whatever. And then we also always say, like, if it doesn't work out, that's part of the practice too, right? So it's okay. But if you can, you're going to do that. And what I'm going to do is walk you through a practice that has to do with this emotional state of fear, but it's a practice that you can actually do with any emotion, including really pleasant emotions. You can do it with joy, you can do it with hope. So that's sort of the first statement. The second is, along with sort of that sense of quiet, it's really helpful when we practice. So this is a guided, there's no imagery in it, but it's guided, like you're going to hear my voice the whole time. Meditation, and in meditation, it is really helpful, if it's possible for you right now, to sort of arrange your physical body in the following way. So if you're on the floor, that's fine, sit however you like. But if you're in a chair and you can put both your feet on the ground, you can feel both feet, so like not legs crossed. If you can feel both, if you have like feet, sorry, not feet. If your shoes on, like you feel your feet in the shoes. If you don't have shoes on, you feel your feet on the floor. And then you want to arrange the upper part of your body, right, your torso. So you're trying to sit in a way where we like to say, you are dignified and relaxed. So maybe you create a little more spaciousness in your spine, a little more spaciousness inside. Sometimes like you imagine like your organs sort of having a little more space around them. But you don't want to be rigid. You don't want to be stiff. So you're relaxed. But there's a little more spaciousness. And as I talk you through this, if it's comfortable for you, if you feel okay with this, you might wish to close your eyes to any of sort of the visual stimulus around you. If you're comfortable with Zoom, you might want to turn off your camera, which is fine. You don't have to do that at all. And if closing your eyes is not really comfortable for you right now, it is probably best not to be looking at the screen, because like your eyes are like, oh, look at her and her and her. You can just let them rest sort of loosely on the floor. So we're just going to begin by taking a couple of nice, deep breaths. Just a couple, 2 or 3 long inhalations and exhalations. And with each breath, you might want to feel yourself relaxing into your body just a little bit more. And you can become aware of sensations that you notice in the quiet. So you might notice what you hear. There's like a heating or cooling system, ventilation, or if your windows are open, or if there's someone on the other side of the house. If you hear anything, you just note it. You can notice any physical sensations, so the feel of your clothing on skin, or the way your hands feel in your lap, or the way your feet feel on the floor. You're just noticing sensation. And as I said, I'm going to walk you through this meditation, which focuses on emotion. And today we're going to focus on the emotion of fear. And if at any point along the way you feel yourself feeling really resistant to this, just fall back into that pattern of breathing, just noticing your breath, the inhalation and exhalation. And then you can sort of rejoin when you feel more at ease. So we're going to begin on the next inhalation, just silently saying to ourselves, I am afraid. We'll say that a few times with the pattern of our breath. When we inhale, I am afraid. And as we say that to ourselves, we want to try to fully experience what it feels like to say and feel these words. I am afraid. How does this feel in the body? What sensations do you notice when you hear these words in your mind? I am afraid. Now on the next inhalation, the next breath, we're going to change the phrase a bit. And instead of saying, I am afraid, we say, I feel fear. I feel fear. And as you say these words to yourself, notice if there's any change in any physical sensations in the body as you change the phrasing of this feeling. I feel fear. Notice if there's any shift from I am to I feel. Just notice. Now we're going to change the phrase once more. And on the next inhalation, we say to ourselves, I am aware of feeling fear. I am aware of feeling fear. And notice Again, any physical sensation that comes from this shift to an observing awareness of the feeling. Notice if there's a different emotional quality that comes from shifting who or what fear is appearing to. I am aware of feeling fear. And now finally, if it's available to you, if it feels possible to you, we'll change the phrasing one last time. And now we say to ourselves on the next in-breath, fear is welcome. Fear is welcome. And if that feels too hard to say, you can change it slightly, adapt it, and simply say, fear is here. Fear is here. Just notice any changes, any physical changes in the body that come from changing the words in this way. Might there be a little more spaciousness now than at the beginning? Perhaps it's possible for you to embrace this feeling, aware that fear is an emotion felt by all, and that awareness and fear are not actually separate and distinct. As awareness arises, we notice the energy of our aliveness, and we note that fear is sometimes simply just a part of that. And as we take these few last deep breaths, perhaps we might become aware of a stillness of presence that allows us to connect to all other beings who also feel fear and also are able to become aware. And perhaps in this way, what began as fear can transform a bit to compassion for ourselves, for others, for all. Take one long, nice, deep inhalation, and then you can release. And if your eyes were closed, you can open them again to your surroundings. And part of this practice involves recognizing two things. Number one, motions, just like thoughts, just like physical sensations, they arise and they fall away. There is nothing about our emotional state of being, our thinking state of being, or even physical sensations in our body that is permanent, that feels exactly the same moment to moment for all eternity. So just as fear can creep up, or anger can creep up, or disappointment surrounds us, sometimes that's as easy as it is that they fall away. And sometimes just the awareness of knowing that they come and that we can feel them fully and that they can then fall away again, sometimes that's enough. That there's enough softness there to just allow us to catch our breath again, sort of take the next right step. And then the second thing that we know from this exercise is that our relationship to fear often does not feel like it is in our control, but we do have some measure of control about how we relate to our feelings. And sometimes it's just a simple changing of the phrasing that can help us relate in a slightly different, slightly more spacious, slightly more expansive way. So we shift from saying, I am afraid, which can feel very constricted and tight and small, to fear is here. Fear is here. In this moment, fear is here. 5 moments from now, fear might be gone. Might be here, might be gone. No judgment. No, just that. So that was a really compact way to share all of that experience. If you're interested in learning more, I invite you. We do have open offerings twice a week through the Jewish Mindfulness Center, and any and all of you would be welcome to join. But I know we have to wrap it up. So thank you so much for the invitation. It's really great to be with all of you this afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Jen, I believe you're back on and unmuted.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing your great advice and perspective on the importance of mindfulness. That was really interesting. Thank you all for being here, and we hope you will join us next Wednesday, the same time, same place. As we mentioned before, all sessions are being recorded and will be posted on the Women's Philanthropy webpage at wp.jfedstl.org. And this concludes our formal program, but you are welcome to stay on and we can all just chat, and hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I am going to unmute everybody. If you wish to remute yourself, you're welcome to. I believe everyone is unmuted. Oh, thank you. That was wonderful. And as Jen just said, we welcome anybody to stay on if you would like to just chat, or you are welcome to hang out for a little bit. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rabbi. That was beautiful.